Most of us are hungry for something, even if we can't quite name it. We chase after the next thing, believing that once we get it, we'll finally have peace, joy, stability, satisfaction. So we hope for a breakthrough, a solution, a sense of control. And for a moment, those things work, but they never last. The hunger always shows up again. And this experience isn't unique to us. It clearly shows up in a story that leads to one of Jesus's most revealing statements. A crowd is following him around, not because they understand who he is, but because he has just met a very real need in their life. And if we're honest, we do often the exact same thing. We come to Jesus carrying our wants, carrying our needs, carrying our expectations, hoping that he'll continue to give us what we want. But what Jesus says next was not meant to impress them or us. It was meant to expose what we're really chasing after and to invite us into something far better than temporary relief. Let's check it out. What Jesus says to this crowd 2,000 years ago is that he is the bread of life. And when he says this, he's not making some poetic or abstract spiritual claim. He's responding to a very real situation with a very pointed challenge. Just before he said these words, Jesus had fed thousands of people with just a few loaves of bread. It was one of his most public and undeniable miracles. And the crowd ate, and their hunger was satisfied, and naturally, they wanted more. Their hunger came back. And so they followed Jesus, not because they understood the miracle and what it revealed about him, but because they were hoping for another meal. And so Jesus, he calls this out. He tells them that they're not seeking him because they saw a sign pointing to something deeper, but because they ate their fill and now they want more. In other words, they enjoyed the result, but they missed the meaning. And that's the backdrop for John 6:35, where Jesus says this, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." And now, to understand how radical this claim is, we have to remember that bread, what it represented in the first century. Bread wasn't like a side item or a convenience. It was survival. It was your daily provision. It was the thing that people worried about constantly. Food scarcity was real. So finding a reliable source of bread meant security. So when Jesus calls himself bread, he's stepping directly into the deepest concern of the crowd. He's not dismissing their physical needs. He's exposing how easily those things can be ultimate things. And Jesus is also pulling from Israel's story. The crowd would have immediately thought of manna in the wilderness, the bread that God provided day after day to keep his people alive. But manna had its limits. It could not be stored up. It would spoil overnight. It sustained them temporarily, but ultimately they needed more. And Jesus is saying he is something greater. Not just bread for a day, but life itself. And there's another layer here too. The Jewish teachers of the day often spoke of the law as bread from heaven, something that nourished the soul. But Jesus does not say that he gives bread or teaches about bread. He says he is the bread. Life is not simply found in following instructions. Life is found when we come to Jesus. This is why in this verse, Jesus pairs the words coming and believing together. These are not separate actions. To Jesus, to come to Jesus is to trust in him. To believe in him is to depend on him. This is not about adding Jesus to your life. It's about relying on him as your source for life. And Jesus' promise here is emphatic. Whoever comes to him will never go hungry. Whoever believes in him will never thirst. He's not promising a life without need or struggle. What he's promising is that deepest hunger that we all have, that all of us find in ourselves, will be satisfied in him. And this is where the crowd struggles, and often we struggle too. The crowd wanted Jesus to give them more bread. They wanted him to be a means to an end. They wanted the bread more than they wanted him. And Jesus refuses to play that role. Instead, he invites them something deeper than just temporary provision. And the question for us is whether we're willing to accept the same invitation. Or are we going to keep chasing Jesus for our next meal? Or will we accept the true life that he has for us? The crowd that day came to Jesus looking for bread, not metaphorical, but actual food. And Jesus does something unexpected. He doesn't shame them for wanting it. He does not deny their need. He simply refuses to let that define their relationship. And instead of giving them another meal, he invites them into something deeper. And that's exactly what Jesus wants to do in our lives today, too. And most of us, we're not chasing literal bread anymore, but we are chasing something. We're chasing something that we think will make us secure, fulfilled, or at peace. For some of us, it might be success or stability. For others, it's comfort, control, approval, productivity, or even maybe spiritual experiences. And these in and of themselves aren't evil, but they can become a problem when they become our source, when we go to them hoping they'll provide us life. And here's the hard question that Jesus' words force us to ask. What is the thing you are most tempted to run to when life feels uncertain or disappointing? What is the thing you believe that once you get will settle all that restlessness, that will satisfy your hunger? Because that thing is your bread. And now we can follow Jesus while subtly treating him as a means to an end. We can pray so our life will improve. We can obey hoping things will work out. We can trust God as long as he keeps delivering the outcomes we're hoping for. But Jesus is not interested in just offering temporary provision. What he wants to offer you is himself. And to accept the better thing Jesus offers means that we have to stop asking him to simply sustain our current way of living and start allowing him to reshape what we believe life is about. It means coming to him, not just for help, but for life. Not just for answers, but to trust him. Not just for relief, but transformation. So I want to encourage you, pause here for a minute. What have you been asking Jesus for lately? And beneath that request, what are you really hungry for? Jesus doesn't just want to fill your schedule. He doesn't just want to fix your circumstances or fund your plans. He wants to be your life. And the invitation from this verse is the same for us as it was for those people 2,000 years ago. Stop chasing the bread that will never last and come to Jesus. Trust him and discover the kind of satisfaction that nothing else can give. Take some time this week to think about this passage, to think about what your bread is, and then give it to the one who has something so much better for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it encouraged you to evaluate your life and to go to Jesus for the true life that he has for you. If it did, would you drop a comment down below and let me know what God is teaching you right now? And don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that you can stay up to date on future content that's coming out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.